Isaiah Collier's in rarefied air. Maybe too rarefied. Next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 bum.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps and on YouTube. Thanks so much. On today's show, Trends Monday, as always, standing projections. We've got the worst record in the NBA. Will we finish there? According to the projections, plus the West is wild. Walker Kessler launches 6 threes last night. Is this something we want to see? Nothing matters more in March when you're evaluating games and quality of opponent. We'll check on that. We're starting with the rare air that Isaiah Collier is in right now. Maybe too rare. For all of you who join us every day, the everydayers out there, thank you. You are who makes this show what it is. I cannot thank you enough for all the support and what you've done. Today's show is brought to you in part by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I did that yesterday. All right. Isaiah Collier did not take a three last night. Isaiah Collier is a point guard in the NBA who has not taken a three in back-to-back games now. Isaiah Collier's now played 77 minutes. He took a three late in the Memphis game without taking a three. He's 10 of 20 from the floor in that point. He's doing great from the free throw line. He's 7 of 8. He had a great game last night or 2 nights ago of 8 assists and just 1 turnover. Last night he did turnover 5 times. And Will Hardy in the pregame yesterday, when talking about him, actually gave him great credit for his self-awareness. That as a player, often is someone you're communicating with, they'll make a mistake and he's incredibly self-aware. Well, his self-awareness to his inability to make a 3-point shot has gotten to the point where he shut it down. Maybe reasonably so. He had a stretch there where he missed 11 straight, and then he buried one late in the Memphis game, on the Boston game, I think out of instinct, and one in Memphis, kind of both similar circumstances. And then he has not shot one in either of the last 2 games. And last night's game was the first time that I've really seen a team just not guard him. And he took advantage. He had a beautiful drive to the basket in which he took advantage and he attacked, which really becomes his own man closing out as though he's on a rotation because he slid so far over on the drive. And so there are reasons for this. But let's make sure, let me just share with you. You decide whether you think this matters or not. I'm not here to, this is the beauty of the show, that you have listened enough to this show and what we do every day. And you are aware enough as a basketball fan that I'm going to give you a bunch of information and then you decide what you think matters. That's what we do here. I'm not sitting here trying to pound ideas or things into your head. I want you to decide. So here is what I want you to know. That there are only 4 players in the last 2 years in the NBA and only about 7 players since 2017 that are guards in the NBA that play this many minutes, 67 minutes. I think I put it at 60, and don't take a three over a 2-game period of time. This is unheard of. So Amon Thompson of Detroit, Asur Thompson, I think it is. Either one of the two Thompson twins. Now that I say it, no, it's Amon Thompson in Houston. who is like incredible in every other aspect of his game, and also 6'7", 210. And just been amazing. Shoots 20% from three over the last years, and he has stopped shooting them. I'm not sure he's really a guard. Let's just point that out. He goes under a guard. I'm not sure what position he is because he doesn't shoot. So he's done it 5 times. Dyson Daniels, who is the best singular on-ball defender in the NBA, has done it twice. Dyson Daniels this year is shooting 34% from three. He just doesn't do it a lot, 3 times a game, and has had a stretch in which he's gone back-to-back games without taking one. And Josh Hart has done it once. Josh Hart plays for the Knicks. Josh Hart is the best rebounding guard in the NBA. He's 6'4", and he doesn't shoot a lot of threes. He's a 33% career three-point shooter. He recently has kind of upped that game because he has to. He's now taking 3.5 a game, but he did have a stretch for 2 games where he didn't take any. Since 2017, a guard in the NBA, 2017, 8 years now, a guard in the NBA playing 60 minutes or more, not taking a three in back-to-back games. Elfrid Payton did it twice. TJ McConnell. Amen Thompson's done it 6 times. Dyson Daniels done it twice. Josh Hart's done it twice. Markelle Fultz. Strangely, Tyrese Maxey. Russell Westbrook did it. And Evan Turner. Okay. Of the guys this year who've done it, Amen Thompson might be the best defensive player in the NBA, just like all around. Dyson Daniels is the best on-ball defender, and Josh Hart is the best rebounding guard in the NBA. So if you're not going to shoot threes and you're going to survive in the NBA, you have to be one of that level, rarefied air, something else. Right? You have to be so great somewhere else. Now, Isaiah Collier was not supposed to be able to shoot well. He shot probably less well than people thought he would since into the league, and his not shooting at all is a little different than I think people expected. But it also is not fair to expect that in the middle of his rookie season, he's suddenly going to find a shot. This is going to be an offseason projection. He's going to work on it. He injured his wrist at USC. For all we know, there's some time he needs, things of that nature. There could be a lot to this story. But he is in a rarefied air that doesn't really exist. Players in the last 10 years who play more than 20 minutes a game are a guard, point guard, shoot below 25% from three, and take fewer than 3 a game. Not taking it seems to be as much of an issue as anything. No one has done it in their rookie year. Ben Simmons did it in his 21-year-old year and his 22-year-old year. TJ McConnell did it in a year where he played 51 games for Philly. Derrick Rose did it when he went to New York and shot 22% from three. Rodney Stuckey, Evan Turner, Dennis Smith Jr., Michael Carter-Williams, and Isaiah Collier. So it has been done by about 9 players. Done by 8 players in 10 years in the NBA. This is rarefied air. And this makes it hard Like your path to success is getting slim, right? That's like one of the things I talk about. There's all the time is the fact that you're, as a draft pick in the NBA post 10, you have a 50% chance of making the league. And we're evaluating every day whether you have and then what's your route? Can you play multiple positions? Can you do all these things? I had said early in the year to some disdain of people that my one concern on Isaiah was he only has one route. That's to be a point guard. right now, unless it develops in the offseason, there's plenty of time for that, is a non-shooting point guard. That doesn't really exist in the league, if we're just being honest. Now, let's go back to what Will Hardy said in pregame last night. He's very self-aware. Okay, that's great. So he's probably too self-aware right now. And let's go to what I just said a moment ago, which is there's zero chance you can expect him to develop this during the middle of this season. And so this has got to be his project in the offseason. And we'll see how he comes back next year. He's much better shooting off the bounce than catch and shoot. He's never in his life played catch and shoot basketball. Ever. He's had the ball in his hands his entire life. Never in his life. So when you watch him shoot an off the bounce three, it's way more comfortable than it is a catch and shoot. But the idea that you're just a non-shooting point guard, that's rare. That's a hard route. And that's like, if we're in a year of development and watching players develop, this is where Isaiah is in his path right now. How does he deal with it? And what happens next? Quality of opponent sure matters. And what the heck was Walker Kessler doing taking 6 threes last night? We'll touch on it next on Locked On Jazz. Today's edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy. Located in Woods Cross and in Logan, Murdoch Chevy is, well, it's Americana, right? Chevy and the Silverado and the Colorado is everything you could ever ask for. It is true blue, red, white, and blue. And the Murdochs are Utah for plus 80 years. The no regrets experience. It's the perfect combination. Whether you're looking for the truck, the Silverado and Colorado are there for you. If you're looking for the Suburban, the Tahoe, the Utah County Assault vehicles are all the way down to the Blazer, the Trailblazer, and the Trax. The Volt is the electric vehicle Chevy's put together. Plus, they have the electric Silverado truck as well. It is all at Murdoch Chevy, located in Logan and Woods Cross, right off of I-15. Email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com, and make sure that we get you your VIP meeting at Murdoch Chevy. Today's show is also brought to you by DoorDash. They swoosh, you save. I thought Anthony Edwards was going to get there for you last night for a second. That's right, Dash Pass members, every time a player drops 50 or more in a game, you score huge the next day. It's simple. When a player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 the next day from noon to midnight. Here's a few ways you can take advantage of this deal. You can have a game day feast. You can have a late night craving. You can have lunch on the go, whatever it might need quick and easy lunch delivery. Dash Pass, you get your favorite meals with zero delivery fees, reduced service fees. Plus now, if NBA goes 50, you drop in the code NBA50 and you save up to $10 with 50% off. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When a player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Again, this is for Dash Pass members, and offer is valid 9 a.m. Pacific to midnight Pacific after any 50-point performance. The code is NBA50. Thanks very much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps, as well as on YouTube, and loving that fact for you. We also have the daily newsletter that is available for you for free as well. So make sure you catch that as well here. All right, this time of year, opponents really matter. So last night, the Jazz played Minnesota, who I think have as good an 8-man rotation as any team in the NBA. Cleveland, Oklahoma City, Boston can make an argument that their 8-man rotation is good, if not better. But when you look at their 8, when Conley plays, Conley, Edwards, McDaniels, Randall, Gobert, with DiVincenzo, Alexander Walker, and Reed coming off the bench, that 8, They're solid for every minute. So when they go play Denver, it's like abundantly clear. When they go to Peyton Watson, Jesse Pickett, and whoever else they're going to, like it's incredibly different for Minnesota. So Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, Kyle Filipowski, our young Walker Kessler, our young developing players are now playing NBA caliber player every minute. That's very different, frankly, than what we've been seeing recently. Right? We've had a lot of games recently where our guys are matched up against what I would say are non-proven NBA rotation players. And it's important on those nights that they hammer them. Like the other night, Kyle had a really nice game against guys that are not particularly, they're not proven NBA rotation players. They're great. Every single one of these guys is amazing. If you haven't figured this out about the league, the top 10 are different. And then the top 50 are different. And then somewhere around, I don't know what the number is. It'd be good to look at. 80 to 600. Maybe it's 80 to 200 is different. And then 200 to 600 is really not that different. It's kind of amazing. So all these guys are amazing. But my point is that, when we were playing Toronto the other night, and you're going up against Colton Castleton, Jamison Battle, Jamal Shedd, AJ Lawson, those are not NBA caliber rotation players. They are not Orlando Robinson. They have not played. When we played Philadelphia the other night, depending on where you rank Kelly Oubre, there might not have been a top 200 player in the NBA on the floor. So last night, when you're playing a team that has a top 10, Julius Randle's probably a top 50. Rudy's a top 50. Dade McDaniels is a top 70. Dante DiVincenzo's probably a top 80. Nickeil Alexander, that's Naz Reid's top 100. That's loaded. So, Bryce Sensabaugh turning it over 5 times in 24 minutes in that game's a problem. He was really, really overwhelmed and loose with the ball. Cody kind of drifted into nowhere land. He had looked much more aggressive and had made bigger strides and looked much better. Yeah, against AJ Lawson. And now against NBA, suddenly he looked a lot like he did at the beginning of the year, where he's just kind of running around and non-impactful. It's not this is not a criticism. This is just, if you're evaluating where our players are in this process, nights like last night are very different than nights and Wednesday night against Washington will be very different than last night. And then depending what Boston throws at us Friday and Cleveland throws at us Sunday, they'll be more like tonight. And those are important differentials to see. Isaiah Collier against Toronto, I think, had 8 assists and 1 turnover. He played Minnesota, he suddenly had 5 turnovers. Right? That's the difference. Now, Kyle, by the way, had a good box score line last night. 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. We now have new new data because of the NBA has this new thing where I can actually look at what Kyle does defensively. Now, Julius Randle went 2 for 2 against him, and Terrence Shamps went 2 for 3, and Naz Reid went 1 for 3, and Anthony Edwards went 1 for 3, and Dante DiVincenzo went 1 for 2, and Jaden McDaniels went 1 for 1. So that's not super. It's not as bad as it could be, I guess. But so the opposing teams shot 8 of 11 last night. I think that seems wrong. That is wrong. 8 of 14 when guarded by Kyle Filipowski. Okay. That's better. I mean, it's not great, but okay. Whereas if he's playing the Washingtons or the Torontos and they don't have let's evaluate those differently. So I think that's really, really important when we're looking at where our players are in the line of progression. Don't stamp them of who they are today. Isaiah Collier's allowed to shoot 3s next year. He could even make them. Bryce Sensabaugh is allowed to get his dribble lower and take care of the ball better and not be as sloppy with it next year. Could work on it all offseason. So don't stamp where they are, but these are just comments to where they are right now and who your opponent is right now at this time of season in March and April, depending who's playing and who's not playing, is really important to look at when you're evaluating a player. Walker Kessler took 6 threes last night. From what I understand, that's what he was asked to do. He was asked a typical Walker, right? He follows directions perfectly. He's the absolutely rule following kid on the planet. He was told to take 6 threes last night. If Rudy's going to sit in the paint like Rudy did last night, at the lowest level I've maybe ever seen Rudy play defense, and Walker Kessler is going to be able to play from the offensive side, he will eventually have to take that shot and make it just enough. The player that we're all going to look at and may or may not be the right player is Brook Lopez. The only reason why I hesitate to say Brook Lopez is the player to look at is because Brook Lopez averaged 22 points a game or 21 points a game at one point in his NBA career and was an incredibly deft scorer around the basket, which I'm not sure Walker is. But if you don't know the story of Brook Lopez's career, Brook Lopez came in the league in 2008, and by 2014, so that's 6 years in the league, Brook Lopez had taken 7 3-point shots. And then he went bananas and took 10. So through 8 years in the league, he had taken 17. And then the next year he took 14. So in 9 years in the league, Brook Lopez had taken, or in 8 years in the league, he had taken 31 threes. And the next year he took 387. I don't know that we have to do that, but that's the concept. And Brook was able to make 35% of them for most of his career. He's been remarkably consistent kind of at 35%. If Walker can do that, and you know that Walker's going to get a wide open, butt naked 3, and he can make 35% of them, which is 1.05 points per possession, not super, by the way, below league average, but better than a average half-court possession, that's great. We'll take that. That's what you need to have happen. The average half-court possession in the NBA is about a point of possession, I believe, according to Cleaning the Glass. And so if Walker can get to the point where he can make 35% of his threes, he was 1 of 6 the other night, so he just needs to make 1 more, then that will give the Jazz an option, and that will probably increase the amount of minutes Walker can play on a given night by 5 to 8 minutes. Walker leads the league by a huge amount in offensive rebounding rate. He's borderline Dennis Rodman-esque. He is 14th best defensive rebounder in the league, and he's a good rim defender. This is the makeup of a really good player. And this little piece, if possible, is worth playing around with. The standing projections are out by ESPN, BMI, or BPI, and Basketball Reference. There's another site I haven't looked at today. ESPN projects the Jazz to win 18.7 and the Wizards to win 20.9 and the Hornets to win 21.9. So they are projecting us to finish with the worst record in the NBA, which guarantees us no worse than the 5th pick. And the Basketball Reference has us finishing at 19 wins, the Wizards at 19 wins, and Charlotte at 21.3. So we're in a real battle with Washington. What's interesting is the 2 different systems do not have the West the same at all, which makes the upcoming segment on Trends Monday even more important than usual, because who's hot for the final 3.5 weeks of the season may really matter this year. I'll explain next on Locked on Jazz. Today's edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here. The brackets are out, and FanDuel's giving you a chance to get into the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories to who's cutting down the nets. So you got to find a few underdogs. Think BYU can keep it going? Can they be the surprise Elite Eight team like Jake Hatch said on Locked on BYU today? What games are you looking at? It's easy and fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com to get into all of the action and win your first $5 bet. You can choose the winners. If you get the Final Four right, you can win a massive parlay, certainly. Players' Championship today, by the way. You can bet on the Rory McIlroy JJ Spawn playoff as well. Jazz tonight are a 5.5-point underdog to the Chicago Bulls. And the NCAA tournament opening night, BYU is a 2.5-point favorite against VCU. The Zags are a 6.5-point favorite against Gonzaga. Today's show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever looked at your account and said, where did all my money go? Yes, we all have at some point in time. That has happened. Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you a full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch Money, you realize how much money you're spending on food delivery. You can budget smarter. You can save more. You might notice it's something else. The all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Easy collaboration. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 20% off your first year. That's LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 20% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off in your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Projections for the standings. So Oklahoma City is going to be 1. ESPN and Basketball Reference are different. One has Denver as the second seed. The other has Houston. What's interesting is that ESPN has Denver as 2, Houston as 3, Lakers as 4. But those aren't even the same top 3 teams that Basketball Reference has. They have Houston, Memphis, Denver. Houston 2-1-3, and the other has won 6 straight. Memphis goes to 5, according to ESPN, is 3 versus Basketball Reference. Lakers are 4, according to ESPN, but 5 according to Basketball Reference. The other one that gets interesting is that the Warriors are holding at 6 and the Wolves at 7. I think the Wolves are going to win 51 games. I don't see a lot of losses left on their schedule. And the Clippers holding at 8. So what's about to happen in the West when we look at Trends Monday is certainly massively important right now. And it also means that when you play any of these teams down the stretch, they are coming. There are certainly a lot of noise and a lot of talk about these teams that are not coming right now. And we understand that. But there are teams that are coming right now at you. Last 10 games, number 1 offense in the NBA is actually the Spurs with Victor Wembanyama out. Oklahoma City is 2. Minnesota has the 3rd best offense in the NBA over the last 10 games. Boston 4th, Golden State 5, and Phoenix 6. The worst offense, the Utah Jazz, has the worst offense in the NBA over the last 10 games. Then Miami, Charlotte, New York, Toronto, Orlando, and Dallas. Orlando's trying and has that. Best defense in the NBA over the last 10 games is Toronto, then Detroit, then Golden State, then Houston, Cleveland, and Minnesota 6 defensively. Worst defense in the NBA is the Spurs by a lot, then the Pelicans, the Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Hawks, and the 76ers. The Jazz are up to 22nd defensively, which is a nice progress for them. Over the last 10 games, the hottest team in the NBA is Golden State at plus 11, Minnesota at plus 11, Oklahoma City at plus 10.5, then Cleveland, and then Houston at plus 8, and the Clippers, very quietly, at plus 8. The coldest teams in the NBA, Dallas minus 12, Jazz minus 9, Pelicans minus 9, Charlotte minus 8, Philadelphia minus 7, Brooklyn minus 7. Other than Dallas, teams committed to the task. So that's where nothing too stunning there. We've seen some things in the past. Detroit still hovering around, one of the best teams in the NBA recently. Boston is coasting. Nothing too stunning on the tops or the bottoms there. Orlando's general inability to score. Miami really missing Jimmy Butler. And Minnesota is on fire. In the last 2 weeks, we like to look at it as well. And look at who's in a little bit shorter sample size may have caught fire. And I think we're going to see a little bit more of Houston. Incredible that Houston, when Amon Thompson went down, I really thought Houston was a lot of trouble. In the last 2 weeks, Minnesota's number 1 in the league. They've won 7 straight. They're plus 15. Houston plus 11. Golden State plus 10. I mean, those are teams all battling for the same spot in the West. Boston is plus 10. Clippers are plus 10, plus 9. Oklahoma City, and then Cleveland. Toronto up there as well, really playing well recently. Coldest teams in the league, Dallas, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Utah, Charlotte, and Miami. That's Miami trying to win. The others, and Dallas, just injury-riddled without a roster and feeling sorry for itself. San Antonio has the best offense. Minnesota 2, Boston 3, Denver 4, Phoenix 5. Phoenix's offense is rolling, but their defense just not. Clippers 6 and Atlanta 7. Teams that can't score right now. Miami has the worst offense in the NBA. That's incredible. Then Utah, New York, Dallas, New Orleans, Philly, and Washington. Best defense in the NBA, Houston at 108. Then Toronto, New York, Cleveland, Detroit, Golden State, and Minnesota. Oklahoma City's still right in that mix at 8th. Chicago, who will play tonight, is the 9th best defensive team in the last 2 weeks. San Antonio's allowing a 131 defensively over the last 2 weeks. I've never seen that before. Dallas is at 128. Denver at 126 and trying. That's concerning. New Orleans, Philly, Phoenix at 122. Wow. San Antonio's at 131. That's crazy. League average is 115, which is 116, which is a little bit up, as is always the case from where the league is. The last 2 weeks are a little, as the league goes on, we're at 116 compared to 114.5. So that's a big jump. But wow, 130. Never seen that before. All right, that is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back with you tomorrow after the Bulls game. Break down what we see tonight. Be interesting to see. Their injury list is a little thick. We'll see if Lowry goes back-to-back. I would doubt it. He seemed like he got banged up again last night. John Collins is out. Hopefully we see Keontae again soon sometime. So we'll check on who gets to go tonight, who doesn't. Walker may sit on the back end of a back-to-back as well. Jazz and the Bulls tonight. Ron and I will bring it to you and promise you we'll have a great time. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you don't follow me on socials, please do on DLock09. Also, the newsletter is at LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up for Locked On Jazz. And if you haven't followed or subscribed to the program, please do. If I give you anything you like today, 5 stars would be greatly appreciated. Have a wonderful day. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel. If you're on audio, check out Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night on Locked On NBA's Game Night.